Raids. Raids, raids, raids. Aren't raids exciting? Even the word raid conjures images of excitement, adventure, and daring. Maybe this is because the word raid carries connotations of stealing and getting away with it. Raiders of the Lost Ark sees Nazis attempt to steal ancient artifacts while Indiana Jones tries to stop them. Tomb Raider stole, artifacts from various tombs, as well as the hearts of pathetic nerds on the internet like you. And of course, raids are no stranger to the world of professional wrestling, because various top companies have poached top talents from each other over the decades. So I'm Jack from WhatCulture.com, and we're going to look at the 8 biggest talent raids in wrestling history. Number 8, the raid that inspired this very list, WWE takes some of New Japan Pro Wrestling's top talent. Earlier this year, in the immediate aftermath of New Japan's Wrestle Kingdom mega show, news broke that 4 New Japan workers had signed contracts with WWE. Bullet Club members Carl Anderson, Doc Gallows, and AJ Styles, and of course, NXT superstar now, Shinsuke Nakamura. Now, so far, Nakamura's really impressed in NXT. He's put on a fantastic Match of the Year candidate with Sami Zayn. AJ has been impressing as well. He's had a pair of fantastic pay-per-view matches with Roman Reigns. He made that awesome debut in the Royal Rumble. Gallows and Anderson, not so much. Their gimmick seems to be AJ's best buddies, and while that might be true backstage, and that's lovely, congratulations to them, it's not really portraying them as the dangerous ass kickers they were over in New Japan. But still, because it was a shocking example in the new age of WWE shamelessly poaching a handful of talent from one of their main rivals in the world, this gets on the list. Number 7, TNA gives a lovely retirement home to various ex-WWE superstars. It's no secret that TNA have never been shy of scooping up former WWE superstars, often with damaging regularity with regards to their own homegrown talent. Of the 19 men ever to hold the TNA World Heavyweight Championship, an unbelievable 9 made their names in WWE, and that would be Kurt Angle, Jeff Hardy, Matt Hardy, Bubba or Bully Ray, Bobby Lashley, Mr. Anderson or Kennedy, Mick Foley, Drew Galloway, and finally, and you might want to leave him out if you're a big ECW fan, Rob Van Dam. Unlike most talent raids on this list, however, this trend hasn't always yielded positive results. Despite being a stalwart of the company and an amazing servant to TNA since his debut in 2002, AJ Styles took 7 years to become their world champion, simply because he was fighting for his spot alongside much more globally established ex-WWE names. In the early days of TNA, this problem was often even worse. Although the promotion gained a following due to the vast talent on display from names such as Styles, Christopher Daniels, Petey Williams, My Boys, the Motor City Machine Guns, if you're listening, I love you, both of you, especially you, Shelley. They were shoved down the card to make room for tired has-beens such as X-Pac, Billy Gunn, and the ever present Jeff Jarrett. Number 6, WWE's sustained raid of Ring of Honor. Even 10 years ago, when the tail end of the ruthless aggression era seemed a far cry from any of the hard-hitting action going on in Ring of Honor, WWE still weren't shy of poaching a top name or two from them. CM Punk and Daniel Bryan are both considered ROH legends, and they've set a benchmark that is currently being pursued by a host of their old running buddies from back in the day. Seth Rollins and Kevin Owens are two of the most groundbreaking new age heels in WWE, and they have ROH championship reigns under their belts, while older NXT superstars who've more recently come onto the scene, such as Samoa Joe, Austin Aries, also followed a very similar career path as well. Isn't it strange that Triple H has a fondness for small, technically gifted men, when he spent most of his career becoming as big as humanly possible and then dominating smaller guys and just being generally no, I forgive you, Triple H. You're doing a really good job now, buddy. Thanks very much. Number 5, WWE take a little attitude from ECW. If you didn't know already, the Attitude Era wasn't invented by WWE or WWF, it was invented by ECW. They popularized that hardcore smash mouth style of wrestling that then went on to characterize WWE at the turn of the century. Just ask Paul Heyman, or ask Sam Driver, who's a massive ECW fan, or ask both of them when they're hanging out together because they're best friends. Not content with simply stealing ECW's style and tone, Vince McMahon also took some of their workers directly. The most high profile moves came around 1999 or 2000, where the Dudley Boys and then Taz jumped ship as ECW was on the verge of collapse. Now obviously the Dudley Boys went on to be a huge success, whereas Taz, well, let's just say, don't know what to say really. F*** you, Taz. Number 4, WCW clear out ECW. If WWE's poaching of various top ECW stars was a raid, WCW's behaviour was daylight robbery. Just as WWF owed a lot of their late 90s success to ECW, their rivals sure as hell did too. Whereas WWF aimed for the top talent, WCW took a different approach, and they signed many of ECW's undercard, especially technical and cruiserweight wrestlers such as Chris Benoit, Eddie Guerrero, and Dean Malenko. After they stole those guys, Paul Heyman sought to replace them with Lucha Libre Race sensations such as Rey Mysterio Jr., Juventud Guerrera, Psychosis, Conan, and then Bischoff signed those as well. But all's fair in love and Monday Night War. Unfortunately, unlike WWF, who at least utilised the Dudley Boys to their full potential, WCW ensured that their signees were criminally underused. The fact that so many talented stars were wasted by their new promotion when they could have arguably transformed the company's fortunes surely makes this the least successful talent raid on the list. In fact, so many wrestlers were so disappointingly wasted that it actually led to a subsequent exodus, which brings us to number 3. WWF turned WCW's unwanted mid-carders into stars. So what happened to guys like Benoit, Malenko, Eddie Guerrero, Chris Jericho? They jumped ship to WWF in 2000. Well, Jericho jumped in 99, but we can forgive that. Amidst all the reasons WCW died, one of the most overlooked is the fact that WWF were able to transform some of their most neglected talents into bona fide superstars. Chris Jericho was the first to make such an impression. He came out on stage, he cut off The Rock of all people, and he looked like $1,000,000 straight out the gate. The Radicals shortly followed: Chris Benoit, Eddie Guerrero, Dean Malenko, and the Yeti. Perry Saturn. And all four men, of course, didn't become main eventers, and Saturn participated in some of the most notoriously silly angles of the Attitude Era, but Guerrero and Benoit did eventually rise to the top. It's actually quite startling to see just how extensive an array of talent WCW had on their hands and wasted. Ultimately, their decision to continue granting influence to aging stars such as Hogan and Nash and Hall really nullified any chance of progression. Sorry, I just got serious for a bit there, but yeah, if you're unfamiliar with WCW, go and watch some of their 2000 and 2001 pay-per-views and hide behind the sofa because they're awful. Number 2, you want a war, you got a war. Speaking of Kevin Nash and Scott Hall, their dramatic arrival in WCW has gone down in history as one of pro wrestling's most shocking, iconic moments, and the first time that the battle lines between WCW and WWF were properly drawn. The pair jumped ship in 1996 and instantly changed the entire face of the company. Before long, the NWO were formed alongside third man Hulk Hogan, most shocking heel turn in wrestling history. We all know it. If you don't, what are you even watching this video for? But don't worry, we accept newcomers, it's alright, just watch it and learn and learn. Now, this talent raid could feasibly be seen as one of the most successful on this list, as it turned WCW into the main player and the favourite in the Monday Night Wars, at least for a time. And strangely and ironically, on the other hand, it also caused their downfall because those older, selfish old guys really sort of prevented any further progression. They were unwilling to let go of their spot. If you can't tell by now, I'm quite biased against WCW. Oh man, I hate that promotion. Number 1, Vincent Kennedy McMahon raids the territories. In the history of pro wrestling, no talent raid has been more influential or important, or indeed shocking, as Vince McMahon's sustained poaching of territorial talent in the 1980s. It transformed his father's company from a regional promotion into a national powerhouse and made the business more of a monopoly than ever before. Now, many have criticised Vince McMahon for being so ruthless in the 80s and destroying the old way that wrestling promotions were run, running down the NWA, running down, all those regional promotions, that really defying the way that things were done. However, without that, would we love pro wrestling today? Would I even be doing this job now? Maybe the industry needed a bit of a monopoly to get it into the public eye and really get things going. The most influential of McMahon's early signings were Georgia Championship Wrestling's Roddy Piper, you might have heard of him, and the Iron Sheik, you might have heard of him, and also American Wrestling Association's Jesse Ventura, might have heard of him, and Hulk Hogan, I don't know, to be honest, don't know who he is. These acquisitions allowed McMahon to gain a national TV deal, which of course led to WrestleMania, which then of course led to WrestleMania 3 and the explosion of the WWF. But all those events were really set in motion by McMahon's raiding of the territories. So the rest, as they say, is history. That's all we've got time for. I've been Jack from WhatCulture.com. You can follow me on Twitter at Jack_thejobber. These have been the biggest talent raids in wrestling history, and I will see you soon.